The pomegranate red and red fruit plate is a sweet record in Grandma's yard. There grows a pomegranate tree with luxuriant foliage. On its branches hang round pomegranates. Among them, the reddest and plumpest one is named Hong Hong by Grandma. Hong Hong was dressed in a bright red coat, like a tiny red lantern. Its skin had fine lines and felt a bit rough, but very sturdy. At the top, there was a small crown that swayed gently in the wind. Even butterflies couldn't help but circle around it. Grandma always said Hong Hong is the little treasure of the yard. There are many sweet red pearls hidden in its belly. That early morning, the little bee hummed back from gathering nectar, so exhausted that it could hardly flap its wings. It landed on a branch beside Hong Hong, smelled a faint, fruity fragrance, and immediately perked up. It flapped its wings at Hong Hong and said, "Pomegranate, pomegranate, your scent is so unique." Hong Hong quickly shook her body to let the aroma spread further. "Buzz, take a break. My flesh is so sweet. I'll let you taste it later." Buzzing moved close to Hong Hong, took a deep breath, and the fresh fragrance dispelled its fatigue. Flapping its wings, it said, "Thank you, Hong Hong. Your fragrance is more refreshing than nectar." In the morning, the sun was slowly rising. Little Aunt Guagu and her friends were looking for food. They walked for a long time, but couldn't find it. Seeing their red and bulging bellies, they curiously climbed up the branches and asked, could there be something delicious hidden inside? Just then, Grandma came to pick pomegranates and said with a smile, "Red and ripe. Let's open them together and have a look." Grandma gently peeled off the red coat, revealing a series of crystal-clear red seeds inside, as if a handful of red pearls had been scattered, with sweet juice dripping down the seeds. The fruits quickly climbed over, picked up a red seed and licked it. The sweet taste made them cheer. "Thank you, Hong Hong. Your seeds are sweeter than candies." At noon, the little girl Duwadwo from the neighbor's house came to play at her grandma's. As soon as she saw the peeled red, her eyes lit up. "Grandma, these pomegranate seeds are so red, like red pearls. They are so beautiful." Grandma put the red seeds into a small plate and handed it to Duwadwa, saying, "The freshly picked pomegranates are the sweetest. Have a taste quickly." Duwadwa picked up one and put it in her mouth. The sweet juice spread in her mouth. She smiled and said, "It's so sweet. Red is sweeter than honey. I'm going to take some for my parents to taste." In the afternoon, dark clouds drifted over the sky, and it seemed that it was about to rain. Hong Hong remembered the little ladybug Diandian living beside the tree root. Its little nest had no cover. Hong Hong quickly asked her grandma to put the peeled coat on Diandian's nest. The pomegranate peel was thick and firm, just right to keep off the rain. When the raindrops tick-tock fell, the dots poked their heads out from beneath the skin and waved at Hong Hong, saying, "Thank you, Hong Hong. Your coat is more useful than a small umbrella." In the evening, the setting sun dyed the courtyard orange red. Grandma mixed pomegranate seeds with yogurt to make a sweet pomegranate yogurt cup. Duadwo and her parents were gathered around the dining table, taking one bite after another, eating very happily. Dad said while eating, "This yogurt cup is so delicious. Thanks to Hong Hong, it's just right sweet." Grandma smiled and said, "Although pomegranate seeds are small, they are very sweet when gathered together. When everyone shares them, happiness will also increase." When the moon rose, Dawatwa washed the red pomegranate shells clean and made them into small storage boxes to hold her little beads. Lying on the bed, she recalled the red seeds and their sweet taste and gradually fell asleep. Because of Hong Hong, this small courtyard has become sweet and warm. Such days are sweeter than pomegranate seeds and more eye-catching than the bright red coat. A sweet record of the sea of pink cherry blossoms in Grandpa's cherry orchard. There is a patch of pink cherry trees. On the branches there are clusters of plump cherries. Among them, the most pink and tender one, Grandpa named it Tao Tao. Tao Tao is like a tiny pink gem dressed in a coat of pinkish white with a tinge of red. Its skin is as smooth as if smeared with a layer of honey and has a faint luster. On its head is a thin green handle that gently swaying in the wind, like a small bell hanging on a branch. Its flesh is soft. Take a bite and you'll find sweet juice mixed with a hint of sourness, which can sweeten your taste from the tip of your tongue to your heart. Grandpa always says Tauto is like a little pink ball in the garden. After getting enough sun exposure, it grows into the sweetest shape. That early morning, the little butterfly flower had been flying in the cherry orchard for half a day. Its wings almost unable to flap, it was so thirsty that it couldn't find any clean dew. Hua Hua landed on a branch beside Tao Tao, smelled the sweet fruit fragrance, and flapped her wings at Tao Tao, saying, little cherry, could you lend me some sweet water to drink?" Tao Tao quickly shook her body, allowing the morning dew on the flesh to drip down and land right in front of Hua. Hua, don't worry. Drinking the morning dew won't make you thirsty anymore. Hua leaned over and licked it. The sweet dew quenched her thirst at once. She flapped her wings and flew around once. "Thank you, Tao Tao. Your dew is sweeter than nectar. I finally have the strength." In the morning, the sun gradually rose higher. The little snail in the garden crawled slowly and listlessly, wanting to find a shady place to rest for a while. It climbed up to the green stem of the peach and found that the flesh of the peach was blocking the dazzling sunlight. It quickly lay down on the branch. "Wow, it's so cool and fragrant here." Tao Tao gently swayed, making the shadow cover tighter and asking Grandpa to water it a little, bringing a touch of coolness to Mung Mung. Slowly and comfortably, he sighed, "Thank you, Tao Tao. Your shadow is more comfortable than leaves. I'm not afraid of the sun anymore." At noon, Duadwo, a little girl from the neighbor's house, came to the garden to help her grandpa pick cherries. As soon as she looked up, she saw Tao Tao on the branch and her eyes lit up immediately. "Grandpa, this cherry is so pink, like a little face. It's so beautiful." Grandpa smiled and picked Tauto, washed it clean with clear water, and handed it to Duodru, saying, "Freshly picked cherries are the sweetest. Have a taste quickly." Duodru took a small bite. The soft flesh melted in her mouth, and sweet juice trickled down the corner of her mouth. She quickly wiped it and said with a smile, "It's so sweet. Peaches are sweeter than candies. I'm going to take a few for my good friend Lely." In the afternoon, dark clouds suddenly drifted from the sky, and it seemed that it was about to rain. Tao Tao remembered the little ant Guago living beside the tree roots. Their hole was unobstructed. Tao Tao quickly asked her grandpa to pick the leaves of the big cherry beside her and cover them with the ant hole. The leaves were big and green, just right to keep off the rain. When the raindrops pattered down, Guagu poked his head out from under the leaves and waved his antennae at Tauto, saying, "Thank you, Tauto. Your leaves are more effective than a small umbrella. The hole isn't wet at all." In the evening, the setting sun dyed the cherry orchard orange-red. Grandma washed Tauto and other cherries clean. Some of them were made into cherry pudding, and some were placed on a plate as dessert. Duadwe and Lely were gathered around the dining table, taking one bite after another, their mouths filled with sweet flavors. Lely said while eating, "This is the most delicious cherry I've ever eaten. The pink peach is the sweetest." Grandpa smiled and said, "Sharing doubles the sweetness. It's the happiest when we all eat together." When the moon rose, Duadwa washed Tauto seeds clean and put them in a small plate. She wanted to plant the seeds in a flower pot and wait for a cherry tree to grow next year. Lying on the bed, she recalled Tao Tao's chubby appearance and sweet taste, and gradually fell asleep. Because of Tao Tao, this small cherry orchard has become sweet and warm. Such days are more beautiful than the soft flesh of the cherries and more adorable than their tender pink coats. The Vegetable Garden Guardian Story of Eggplant Zai Zai in Grandma's Vegetable Garden. There is a lush green eggplant plant with plump eggplants hanging on it. Among them, the one that is the most purple and brightest is named Zai Zai by Grandma. Zai Zai was dressed in a shiny, deep purple coat, like a round purple pearl. Her skin was so smooth that it could reflect the shadow of leaves. Her shape was chubby and slightly curved, like a tiny crescent moon. Its stems are slender, with a few large emerald green leaves on top. When the wind blows, they sway gently. Even the ladybugs passing by can't help but land on the leaves. Grandma always says, "Zizzy is a little gentleman in the vegetable garden. It hangs steadily on the seedlings." When it's ripe, it's delicious, whether stir-fried. One early morning, little Aunt Guagu and her friends were carrying cookie crumbs. When they reached the middle of the vegetable garden, they got lost. The green leaves around were so thick that they couldn't tell the direction. Guago looked up and saw Zai Zai on the rice seedlings. Her deep purple coat stood out particularly among the green leaves. She quickly called out to her friends, "Look, that purple eggplant is like a small flag. We can go home by following it." Zai Zai hung steadily on the rice seedlings like a loyal little guide. Guogo followed Zai Zai's direction and indeed found their way home very quickly. Guogo waved her antennae at Zizi and said, "Thank you, Zizi. Your color is brighter than a little lantern. We'll never get lost again." In the morning, as the sun rose slowly, the vegetable garden became warm. The little snail crawled slowly, sweating all over its head. It wanted to find a shady place to rest for a while, but the other leaves were all too narrow. It climbed under the big purple leaves and suddenly felt much cooler. The emerald green leaves were like a big green umbrella, just right to block the sunlight. Slowly lying on the soil, he shook his antennae at Zai Zai and said, "Zai Zai, Zai Zai, Zai Zai, your big green umbrella is so comfortable. It's cooler than petals. I'm not afraid of the sun anymore." Zai Zai gently shook the leaves, making the shadow cover tighter and gradually blocking the dazzling sunlight. At noon, Duadwo, a little girl from the neighbor's house, came to the vegetable garden to help her grandma pick vegetables. As soon as she saw Zai Zai on the rice seedlings, her eyes lit up. "Grandma, this eggplant is so purple, like a purple pearl. It's so beautiful." Grandma smiled and picked Zizi, wiped it clean and handed it to Duwadbu, saying, "Freshly picked eggplants are the tenderest. When I make braised eggplant later, you'll surely love it." Duwadwo carefully held Zizi in her hands, touched the smooth coat and said with a smile, "I want to watch Grandma make it so that Mum and Dad can also taste the flavor of this purple pearl." In the afternoon, dark clouds suddenly drifted from the sky, and it seemed that it was about to rain. Zai Zai saw of the little ladybug Dion living under the eggplant vines. Its back shell was a bit thin and it was afraid of getting wet by the rain. Zizi quickly asked her grandma to pick the big leaves beside her and cover them with Dion's little nest. The leaves were big and thick, just right to keep out the rain. When the raindrops pattered down, Dion poked his head out from under the leaves and shook the spot at Zai Zai, saying, "Thank you, Zai Zai. Your leaves are more useful than my shell. I didn't get wet at all." Zai Zai lay in the bamboo basket, watching the raindrops hitting the vegetable leaves, feeling sweet in her heart. In the evening, the setting sun dyed the vegetable garden orange-red. Grandma cut Zai Zai into oblique pieces and made braised eggplant together with minced garlic and broad bean paste. In no time, the rich aroma filled the kitchen. Duodwo and her parents gathered around the dining table, looking at the shiny and soft braised eggplant. They couldn't wait to take a bite. It was salty and fragrant, not at all greasy. Dad said while eating, "This is the most delicious braised eggplant I've ever eaten. Thanks to Zizi, the meat is tender and flavorful." Grandma smiled and said, "Eggplants may look ordinary, but they have many uses. Growing quietly and sharing them with everyone is the best." When the moon rose, Duodwa washed the seeds of Zai Zai clean and put them in a small plate. She wanted to plant the seeds in a flower pot and wait for eggplant seedlings to grow next year. She lay on the bed, thinking of today's braised eggplant, and it seemed as if she could still smell that rich aroma. The room was quiet, with only the sound of the evening breeze brushing past the window. Because of Zai Zai, this small vegetable garden became full of vitality and fragrant. Such days were more beautiful than the soft and glutinous flesh of eggplants, and more dazzling than their bright purple coats. The sweet and sour memory of the lemon's golden sunlight on my grandfather's balcony. There is a lush lemon tree. Several oval-shaped lemons are hanging on its branches. Among them, the most yellow and vigorous one, my grandfather named it Huang Huang. Huang Huang was dressed in a bright, pale yellow coat, like a tiny sun. The skin had fine, uneven patterns and felt a bit rough to the touch. When she got close to smell it, a fresh, sour smell mixed with the fragrance of fruits wafted straight into her nose. Its fruit stalks are green and hang steadily on the branches. When the wind blows, they sway gently. Even bees can't help but circle around it. Grandpa always says Huang Huang is the little sun on the balcony. After getting enough sunlight, it's refreshing, sour, and gentle sweet. That early morning, little butterfly CA was dozing off on the petals. She was so tired from gathering honey last night that she didn't even bother to flap her wings. Sai Sai smelled the refreshing fragrance on Huang Huang and woke up immediately. She flapped her wings at Huang Huang and said, "Little lemon, your scent is so refreshing." Huang Huang quickly shook his body to let the fragrance spread further. "Tizzy, wake up quickly. My scent can help you regain your strength." Sai Cai moved close to Huang Huang, took a deep breath, and the fresh fragrance immediately dispelled her drowsiness. She flapped her wings and flew around once. "Thank you, Huang Huang. Your fragrance is more effective than dew. I have the energy to gather honey now." In the morning, as the sun gradually rose, the little Aunt Dion on the balcony, along with her friends, carried sugar grains. After walking just a few steps, they were already panting for breath due to the heat. They saw the yellow shadow fall on the edge of the flower pot, like a small mat, and quickly climbed over. "Wow, it's so cool here and there's a pleasant fragrance." Huang Huang steadily on the branch, allowing the shadow to always cover the dots. The dots lay in the cool shadow and sighed comfortably. "Thank you, Huang Huang, your shadow is cooler than leaves. We are no longer afraid of the sun." At noon, the little girl Duarduo from the neighbor's house came to play at her grandpa's. As soon as she saw Wang Wang on the balcony, her eyes lit up. "Grandpa, this lemon is so yellow, like a little sun, and it smells so good." Grandpa smiled and picked the yellow lemon off, wiped it clean, and handed it to Duarduo, saying, "The freshly ripened lemon is the freshest. When I make lemonade later, add a spoonful of honey and it will be especially delicious." Duarduo carefully held Wang Huang in her hands, inhaled the faint fragrance, and said with a smile, "I am going to make it with my grandpa so that my parents can also taste the flavor of this little sun." In the afternoon, the sky was a bit stuffy. Grandpa wanted to make a refreshing lemonade, but after searching for a long time, he felt that it lacked a bit of the natural fruity aroma. Duodwo thought of huangwang and quickly said, "Grandpa, use huangwang. It's sour. It's sure to make the water refreshing." Grandpa nodded, cut huangwang into thin slices, put them in a cup, added warm water, and honey stirred a few times, and a cup of sweet and sour lemon water was ready. Mum took a sip and her eyes lit up. So refreshing. Thanks to Huang Huang, even the sweltering afternoon has become comfortable. In the evening, the setting sun dyed the balcony orange red. Grandma cut the remaining lemons into small cubes and cooked them with rock sugar to make lemon jam. She spread it on the bread, which was sweet and sour. Duadawo and her grandparents were gathered around the dining table, eating lemon sauce bread, taking bites one after another, chatting very happily. Duadwo took a bite of the bread and said with a smile, "Huang Huang is so amazing. It can be made into both lemonade and jam, and it's so sour that it's not astringent at all." Grandpa smiled and said, "Lemons may look small, but they have many uses. Sharing their sweet and sour taste can make everyone happy." When the moon rose, Duadwo washed the yellow lemon peels clean, dried them in the sun and strung them into small sachets, which she hung in front of her desk. Lying on the bed, she inhaled the faint fragrance of lemon peel and gradually fell asleep. In her dream, on the balcony, Huang Huang was still hanging on the branch, like a little sun, giving off a fresh aroma. Because of Huang Huang, this small balcony has become refreshing and sweet and sour. Such days are more refreshing than iced lemonade and warmer than a light yellow coat. A sweet dream under the vine of purple grape skewers in Grandpa's yard. There are lush green grapevines with clusters of plump purple grapes hanging on them. Among them, the one that is the most purple and brightest, Grandpa named it Chuan Chuan. The string is like a string of small purple pearls, each one round and plump, wearing a purple and lustrous coat, covered with a thin layer of white frost, as if sprinkled with a handful of sugar. It feels smooth to the touch, and a gentle pinch can make you feel the sweet juice. Its vines are soft and twine around the trellis as they climb up. When the wind blows, they sway gently, as if dancing a sweet dance. Grandpa always says the skewers are the little sugar strings on the vine. After getting enough sun exposure, all the sweetness is hidden in the flesh. That early morning, the little sparrow chirped and flew for a long time looking for food. Its stomach growled with hunger, but it only found a few dry and hard grass seeds. Shu landed on the grapevine and smelled the sweet fragrance on the bunch of grapes. His eyes lit up at once, but he dared not approach, fearing to knock off this beautiful bunch of grapes. Chuan Chuan quickly shook her body, bringing the bottom grape closer to Shu Shu. "Shu Shu, don't be afraid. Taste my flesh." Grandpa happened to come and pick grapes. Seeing Juju, he gently plucked the bunches and broke off one to place on the branch. Shu Shu pecked a small mouthful, and the sweet and sour juice spread in his mouth. He immediately flapped his wings and cheered, "Thank you, Chuan Chuan. Your flesh is sweeter than nectar. I'm finally not hungry." In the morning, the sun was getting brighter and brighter. The little caterpillar on the vine crawled feebly and listlessly. It chewed on the leaves for a long time, but still found them tasteless. Chuan Chuan let the vines beside him gently hang down and placed the most ripe grape in front of Ruin Ruin, saying, "Ruin Ruin, eat it quickly. This one is the sweetest." Soft climbed onto the grape, taking small bites of the pulp. After finishing, she crawled around on the vine, as if expressing her gratitude. "Thank you, Chuan, Chuan. Your flesh is even more delicious than your leaves. I can climb faster now." At noon, the little girl Duadwo from the neighbor's house came to play at her grandpa's. As soon as she entered the door, she was attracted by the skewers on the vine. "Grandpa, this bunch of grapes is so purple, like little purple beads. It must be extremely sweet." Grandpa smiled and picked the skewers, washed them clean and placed them on a plate. Duadua didn't want to eat it right away and whispered to Chuan, "You are so beautiful. I want to share it with my good friend Let." She carefully held the plate, carried the skewers to the vine, and ate them one by one with her grandpa. The sweet and sour juice made Duadu smile so hard that she narrowed her eyes. In the afternoon, dark clouds drifted over the sky, and it seemed that it was about to rain. Chuan thought of the little ant Guagu living under the vine. Their whole entrance was unobstructed. Chuan quickly asked her grandpa to put the leftover grape skins beside the anthole. The grape skins were big and soft, just right to keep off the rain. When the raindrops tick-tock fell, Guagua poked his head out from under the grape skin and waved his tentacles at Chuan. "Thank you, Chuan. Your grape skins are more effective than a small umbrella. The hole isn't wet at all." In the evening, the setting sun dyed the courtyard orange red. Grandma washed the remaining grapes clean, made sweet grape sauce, and added a little honey. Duadwo and Lely were gathered around the dining table, spreading grape sauce on the bread. They took one bite after another, their mouths filled with sweetness. Lely said while eating, "This is the most delicious jam I've ever eaten. It's all because of the skewers." Grandpa smiled and said, "Sharing brings more sweetness. It's the happiest when we all eat together." When the moon rose, Duwadwa washed the bunches of grape seeds clean and placed them in small plates. She wanted to plant the seeds in flower pots and wait for new grapevines to grow next year. Lying on the bed, she recalled the purple and lustrous appearance of the strings and their sweet and sour taste, and gradually fell asleep. Because of the skewers, this small courtyard has become sweet and warm. Such days are more wonderful than the sweet and sour flesh of grapes, and more eye-catching than the purple and lustrous coat. The sweet memories of the peach garden with its pink peaches in my grandmother's peach garden. There is a luxuriant peach tree with plump peaches hanging on its branches. Among them, the one that is the pinkest and softest was named Fen by my grandmother. She is plump and round, dressed in a pink, white and translucent red coat, as if smeared with a light layer of rouge. Her skin is covered with fine down, feeling soft and fluffy, like a baby's little face. Its fruit stalks are slender and gently sway on the branches. When the wind blows, a sweet, fruity aroma wafts over. Even butterflies can't help circling around it. Grandma always says Fen is the little sweet treasure in the peach garden. When it's ripe, taking a bite can be sweet to the heart. That early morning, just as Fen was moistened by the morning dew and shone brightly, she heard the anxious Gigi sound. It was the chirping of a little sparrow. It had been flying all morning in search of food, its stomach growling with hunger. But it only found a few dry and hard grass seeds. Shu landed on a branch beside Fen, smelling the sweet fruit fragrance. His eyes lit up immediately, but he dared not approach, fearing to knock off this tender peach. Fen quickly shook her body to bring the fruit fragrance closer. Shu, don't be afraid. I can share some of the fruit flesh with you. Just then, my grandma came to the peach orchard to pick peaches. Seeing Choo, she gently picked off the pink ones and broke off a small piece of soft flesh to place on the branch. Shu pecked a mouthful, and the sweet juice spread in his mouth. He immediately flapped his wings and cheered, "Thank you, Fen. Your flesh is sweeter than nectar. I'm finally not hungry." In the morning, the sun gradually rose higher and the peach garden became warm. Fen found that the little snail under the tree was crawling slowly and listlessly. It wanted to find a shady place to rest for a while, but the other leaves were all too small. Slowly climbing up the tree trunk to the place where the pink powder was originally hanging, I found a big peach leaf, still carrying the fragrance of the pink powder. I quickly climbed up. Wow, it's so cool and fragrant here. Fen was placed in a bamboo basket and watched slowly lie on the peach leaves, as if sharing her sweet fragrance. Slowly shaking her antennae, she said to the bamboo basket, "Thank you, Fen. Your leaves are more comfortable than your petals. I'm not afraid of the sun anymore." At noon, the little girl Duodwo from the neighbor's house came to the peach garden to help her grandma with the work. As soon as she saw Fen in the bamboo basket, her eyes lit up. "Grandma, this peach is so pink, like a little face. It must be extremely sweet." Grandma smiled and washed Fen clean, handing it to Duodwo and saying, "The freshly picked peaches are the softest. Have a taste." Duodwo took a gentle bite. The soft and glutinous flesh melted in her mouth, and the sweet juice trickled down the corner of her mouth. She quickly wiped it and said with a smile, "It's so delicious. The powder is sweeter than candy. I'm going to take one for my good friend Lele and let her taste it too." She even deliberately picked a peach as pink, hoping that Lele could also see this little pink ball. In the afternoon, dark clouds suddenly drifted from the sky, and it seemed that it was about to rain. Fen recalled the little ant Guago living in a corner of the peach garden. Their holes were unobstructed, and rainwater would seep into them. Fen quickly asked her grandma to pick the peach leaves beside her and cover them with the ant hole. The peach leaves were big and soft, just right to keep out the rain. When the raindrops pattered down, Guago poked his head out from under the leaves and waved his antennae at Fen-Fen. "Thank you, Fen-Fen. Your leaves are more effective than pebbles. The hole isn't wet at all." Fen-Fen lay in the bamboo basket, smelling the fragrance of fruits in the rain, feeling sweet in her heart. In the evening, the setting sun dyed the peach garden an orange red. Grandma washed the pink powder and other peaches clean. Some of them were cut into pieces for dessert, and some were made into peach jam. Duwadru and Lele were gathered around the dining table, eating sweet peaches and peach jam on bread. They took one bite after another, their mouths filled with sweetness. Lely said while eating, "This is the most delicious peach I've ever eaten. It's all because of the powder." Grandma smiled and said, "Peaches in spring are the sweetest. We'll be happier when we all eat them together." When the moon rose, Duadwo washed the pink fruit pits clean and placed them in a small plate. She wanted to plant the pits in flower pots and wait for the small peach seedlings to grow next year. She lay on the bed, looking out of the window at the moon. It seemed as if she saw the pink powder turn into real little powder balls, smiling at her in the moonlight. The room was quiet, with only the sound of the evening breeze brushing past the window. Because of the pink powder, this small peach garden became warm and sweet. Such days were more beautiful than the soft and glutinous peach flesh, and more lovely than the tender pink coat. The sweet and refreshing vegetable garden of Little Red Radish. Ding ding in Grandpa's vegetable garden, there is a lush green radish stalk. Under the soil, there are small red radishes. Among them, the reddest and roundest one, Grandpa named it Ding Ding. Ding Ding was dressed in a bright red little coat, like a tiny red agate, with a smooth and transparent skin and fine lines. On its head was a cluster of emerald green tassels, like a small green umbrella. When the wind blew, it swayed gently. Even the little earthworms in the soil couldn't resist coming over to smell its fragrance. Grandpa always says, Ding Ding is the little sweet pearl in the vegetable garden. Pull it out and wash it. It's crisp and sweet. Take a bite and your mouth is filled with a refreshing taste. That early morning, the dew was still hanging on the radish leaves. Little Aunt Guaguo, carrying the grain on his back, ran home. After running just a few steps, he was so thirsty that he was panting heavily, and his antennae had no strength to move. Guago climbed under Ding Ding's ear and smelled a faint fragrance. She shook her antennae at Ding Ding in the soil and said, "Little Red Radish. Little Red Radish, could you lend me some water to drink?" Ding Ding quickly shook the leaves, allowing the morning dew to drip down and land right in front of Guaguo. "Guaguo, don't worry. After drinking the morning dew, you won't be thirsty anymore." Guagu lay on the ground, sipping the sweet morning dew in small mouthfuls. Immediately, she gained strength and waved her antennae at Ding Ding, saying, "Thank you, Ding Ding. Your morning dew is sweeter than spring water. I can finally go home." In the morning, as the sun rose slowly, the vegetable garden became warm. The little snail crawled slowly, sweating all over its head. It wanted to find a shady place to rest for a while, but the other leaves were all too narrow. It climbed under Ding Ding's tassels and suddenly felt much cooler. The emerald green tassels were like a small green umbrella, just right to block the sunlight. Slowly lying on the soil, he shook his antennae at Dinging and said, "Dinging, Dinging, your little green umbrella is so comfortable. It's cooler than leaves. I'm not afraid of the sun anymore." Ding Ding gently shook the tassels, making the shadow cover tighter and gradually blocking the dazzling sunlight. At noon, Duodwo, a little girl from the neighbor's house, came to the vegetable garden to help her grandpa pull out radishes. As soon as she pulled out Ding. Her eyes lit up immediately. "Grandpa, this little red radish is so red, like a small agate. It's so beautiful." Grandpa smiled and washed Ding Ding clean, then handed it to Duodwo and said, "The freshly pulled radish is the crispest. Have a taste." Duodwo took a small bite. The crisp flesh spread out in her mouth, and the sweet juice trickled down the corner of her mouth. She quickly wiped it and said with a smile, "It's so delicious. Ding Ding is even crisper than an apple. I'm going to take one for my good friend Lele and let her taste it too." She also deliberately chose a radish as red as Ding Ding, hoping that Lele could also take a look at this little agate. In the afternoon, dark clouds suddenly drifted from the sky, and it seemed that it was about to rain. Ding Ding remembered the little ladybug Diondian living in the nearby ditch. Its back shell was a little cracked, and it was afraid of getting wet by the rain. Ding Ding quickly asked his grandpa to pick his tassels and put them on Diondian's little nest. The tassels were soft and dense, just right to keep off the rain. When the raindrops tick-tock fell, the dots poked their heads out from under the tassels and shook the spots at Ding Ding, saying, "Thank you, Ding Ding. Your tassels are more useful than my shells. I didn't get wet at all." Ding Ding lay in the bamboo basket, watching the raindrops hitting the vegetable leaves, feeling sweet in his heart. In the evening, the setting sun dyed the vegetable garden orange red. Grandma washed Ding Ding and other small red radishes clean, cut them into thin shreds, and made cold shredded radishes with cucumbers and lettuce. She also added fragrant vinegar and sesame oil. Duadua and Lely were gathered around the dining table, vying to eat the shredded radish salad, one bite after another, their mouths refreshing. Lele said while eating, "This is the most delicious cold dish I've ever eaten. It's all because of Ding Ding." Grandpa smiled and said, "The little red carrots in spring are the sweetest. Eating them together will make them more appetizing." When the moon rose, Duadua washed Ding Ding's radish seeds clean and put them in a small plate. She wanted to plant the seeds in a flower pot and wait for them to grow into little red radish seedlings next year. Lying in bed, she recalled the events related to Ding Ding during the day and gradually fell asleep in the vegetable garden of her dream. Ding Ding was still buried in the soil, holding a small green umbrella, waiting to bring sweetness to his friends. Because of Ding Ding, this small vegetable garden has become fresh and sweet. Such days are even more wonderful than the tender flesh of the radish, and brighter than its bright red coat.
Little bee doesn't slack off on a meadow full of blooming flowers. There lived a lively little bee, which everyone called Mimi. Mimi and her friends collect nectar every day and turn it into sweet honey. But these days, Mimi has been a bit lazy. The sun is so warm and the wind is so pleasant. Why not sleep a little longer? One day, Mimi was lying on the petals to rest when suddenly she heard the flowers sighing. If there were no bees to help us carry pollen, we wouldn't be able to bloom next year. Mimi was startled and immediately spread her wings to fly, visiting the flowers one after another. She flew over sunflowers, passed through lavender, and circled around wild chrysanthemums, having a great time. When she returned to the beehive, everyone happily said, "Mimi, you collected the most nectar today." Mimi smiled. It turns out that hard work is not only for oneself, but also can make the world more beautiful. Story, implication, diligence, and perseverance can make life sweeter and also help more friends.
The brave calf on the lush green grassland lived a little calf. It loves watching the little birds flying in the blue sky very much, but it always feels that it is not brave enough. One day, the little calf saw the lamb stuck in the fence and screamed in anxiety. The little calf's heart was pounding non-stop. It was very scared, but thinking that its friend needed help, it pushed the fence open with all its might. The little lamb was saved and said to the calf with a smile, "You are so brave." Only then did the little calf understand that bravery is not about not being afraid, but about being willing to help others even when one is afraid. From that day on, the little calf walked with more energy because it knew it was a brave little calf. Implication: bravery does not mean the absence of fear, but having love in the heart and being willing to do the right thing. The brave calf on the lush green grassland lived a little calf. It loves watching the little birds flying in the blue sky very much, but it always feels that it is not brave enough. One day, the little calf saw the lamb stuck in the fence and screamed in anxiety. The little calf's heart was pounding non-stop. It was very scared, but thinking that its friend needed help, it pushed the fence open with all its might. The secret of purple flowers on a peaceful meadow. Many colorful flowers are in full bloom. The red flowers are passionate, the yellow ones are brilliant, and the white ones are pure. But in the corner, there is a small purple flower growing quietly. Purple flowers are very special. They are neither as flamboyant as red flowers nor as dazzling as yellow ones. She always keeps her head down, quietly giving off a faint fragrance. Why is everyone so popular while I'm always overlooked? Purple flowers often think like this. One day, the little bee flew over. She went around the red flower, flew over the yellow one, and finally stopped beside the purple one. Hello. Your fragrance and color are so unique that I can't help but want to get closer, the bee said happily. The purple flower was extremely surprised. Really? I thought no one would notice me. The bee nodded gently. Every flower has its own beauty, but it just needs to be discovered by those who know how to appreciate it. After hearing this sentence, Purple Flower felt warm in her heart. She no longer lowered her head, but straightened her back, straining to embrace the sunlight. Gradually, the little butterfly flew over. The little bird stopped to rest, and even when the children walked across the grass, they would stop and softly say, "Wow, what a beautiful purple flower." The purple flower finally understood. It's not that the most dazzling is the best. Every uniqueness will shine at the right moment. Since then, she has been blooming with all her heart every day, sending a faint fragrance to the wind and allowing happiness to spread further and further. The message conveyed by this story is, believe in your own unique beauty and do not compare with others.
Purple fish's starlight wish in the deep sea of fish that is different from others is swimming. It's neither red nor blue. It was a little fish shining with a purple light. Purple fish often look up at the sea surface. It has a little secret. I want to go and see the stars in the sky. One night, the sea surface was as still as a mirror. A shooting star streaked across the sky. The purple fish made a splash. Its scales shone brightly, just like a little star in the sea. The stars saw it and smiled, saying to it, "Purple fish, you don't have to fly up to the sky, because you are already a star in the sea." Since then, the purple fish no longer feels lonely. It sparkles in the sea every day. Send hope and happiness to the companions around you. Story implication: every child is a unique star. Don't envy others. You are shining enough in yourself. Purple fish's starlight wish in the deep sea of fish that is different from others is swimming. It's neither red nor blue. It was a little fish shining with a purple light. Purple fish often look up at the sea surface. It has a little secret. I want to go and see the stars in the sky. One night, the sea surface was as still as a mirror. A shooting star streaked across the sky. The purple fish made a splash. Its scales shone brightly, just like a little star in the sea. The stars saw it and smiled, saying to it, "Purple fish, you don't have to fly up to the sky, because you are already a star in the sea." Since then, the purple fish no longer feels lonely. It sparkles in the sea every day. Send hope and happiness to the companions around you. Story implication: every child is a unique star. Don't envy others. You are shining enough in yourself. Purple fish's starlight wish in the deep sea of fish that is different from others is swimming. It's neither red nor blue. It was a little fish shining with a purple light. Purple fish often look up at the sea surface. It has a little secret. I want to go and see the stars in the sky. One night, the sea surface was as still as a mirror. A shooting star streaked across the sky. The purple fish made a splash. Its scales shone brightly, just like a little star in the sea. The stars saw it and smiled, saying to it, "Purple fish, you don't have to fly up to the sky because you are already a star in the sea." Since then, the purple fish no longer feels lonely. It sparkles in the sea every day. Send hope and happiness to the companions around you. Story implication: every child is a unique star.